All right, we are back and welcome aboard the seven line now as we transition to part two of our debut episode of the 4 to 7 pod. Now we will preview the New York Mets and their upcoming 2025 season. Obviously, we all know. Obviously, as we all know, one of the last few episodes that we did of Black Diamond was Juan Soto signing with the Mets. Obviously that was the big move that they made. They also made some other moves to retain retain some of their own guys like Sean Manaea. They added. And then they also added Frankie Montas to the mix in the rotation. Clay Holmes is a Met now, and he is a starting pitcher now, and actually looks really good. We were at
opening day starter.
Yeah, he's the opening day starter. We were at one of his starts when we went to the spring training game a couple of weekends ago, and he looked really good. He pretty much he pretty much just went through the Nationals lineup without any issues. So it seems like he's settling into his new role pretty well. I've always, my theory with Clay Holmes has always been like that he's a pretty damn good pitcher as long as he doesn't have to pitch the ninth inning. You never really know how it's going to go when you transition a pitcher from a reliever to a starter or vice versa. But I would say that like what you've seen with him so far, you probably have to be encouraged. And then they brought Pete back, so I'm sure you got to be excited about that, right?
Well, I mean, and if nothing else, if Pete just meets his career norms, he will be the Mets' all-time home run leader by the end of the year. He's 26 away, and Pete's hit 30 in every full season he's played. Obviously, the only one he didn't was 2020 for obvious reasons, but every other year he's hit at least 30. So if he just hits his normal averages, he'll break Darryl Strawberry's record this year, which that people can laugh. That means something.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And to do it in as short a time as he's projected to do it too, because if it doesn't really feel that long ago that he was first coming up, like in 2019. So for him to be able to do it, for him to be able to set the franchise record in a matter of 6-7 seasons is it's nothing to scoff at. Obviously,
if we had a full season in 2020, it probably happens already.
Yeah, he probably already has the record if 2020 is a normal year. So, nonetheless, it looks like it should be on pace to happen this year. I would say the one thing that the one thing they didn't do, it seems, is that they didn't really add too much to the bullpen, I didn't think. And, they also didn't keep Jose Iglesias. I know you have some thoughts on that. So why don't you share those thoughts with us?
So we'll start with Jose Iglesias because I think that's the bigger headliner. I understand the people who wanted him back, and I also understand why they didn't. I think, obviously, I think he was an important influence in keeping that team loose and giving them something to rally around last year. And as silly as that sounds, I remember before this thing really took off last year, early on, like once the single came out and it was getting a little bit of run, you would hear the beat writers talk about, oh yeah, they play that before the game, and if they win, they play that after the game, and they really love Iglesias. He's a vet, and the young guys really take to him, and to say nothing of the fact of what a great contributor he was on the field. So I completely understand the people that want to keep last year's vibes going, and I'm completely with that. Part of me completely understands the baseball reasons and why. Okay, he's 35 years old. The year before, he wasn't with a team. He hadn't posted offensive numbers like that in a very long time. Like, there was a reason he was on the path that he was on. And I say none of this is anything against Jose Iglesias. I'm grateful he came through, and provided he makes the Padres roster and he's there whenever the Padres come to Citi Field, he'll get a standing ovation. I'm sure they'll play his music when he comes up to bat.
Oh, 100%.
It'll all be deserved. But there's a high likelihood that, we talked about the high variance that baseball has from year to year. He probably was one of the bigger beneficiaries of that than anyone we can remember. And not that this would have been a reason that I would have said no, but we saw how it went in the playoffs. Like, I think I even mentioned at the time, I think the magic carpet ride had kind of come to an end in that respect. And it's fine. It's not a flaw against him. It's not some black mark on him. A lot of guys kind of hit a wall in the postseason. It's fine. He did a lot to get us there. So I understand the front office looking at it and going, this is about as well as we're going to do with him. Let's leave it at that. Let's not, put a big financial commitment to this, give him a multi-year deal or whatever, and potentially block somebody, which is kind of playing out now as we thought it might. Brett Beatty's looked great. They're going to give L.A. Acuna every opportunity to stick on this roster, as they should, and they're giving Brett Beatty the opportunity to make his case to stay on the roster, which they should. Ronnie Mauricio is not quite back yet from his ACL tear. I think he's probably going to start a couple weeks into April down in the minors. Ronnie Mauricio deserves his shot. He looked pretty good at the back end of 2023 when they let him run with that. And to say nothing of the fact that if Jeff McNeil's healthy, we saw how good he looked in the second half last year. If Jeff McNeil sticks with those changes and the results continue, then Jeff McNeil probably deserves more time at second base than what he got last year, which was completely performance-based. And there was a stretch where, Iglesias did deserve to be playing more than McNeil based on how the season was going. But I don't blame the front office for thinking, all right, is lightning really going to strike twice there? And do we want to really bring a guy back just because he did a song?
Yeah.
As much of a heater as it is, and I'll never get rid of it. But it's a tough but understandable decision. And I wish Jose the best in San Diego, as long as he's not playing us. And I do think it is something that ties into this year with this team is, and I've seen my fans talk about this, is like, don't expect this to be 2024. Like, that's, that the attitude and the vibe around that team is singular and unique because of the circumstances that went into that season. And then as it unfolded, like, those same circumstances are not around this team now, and they shouldn't be. Not after what we did. Not after what we did in the offseason. It shouldn't be. It's a completely different attitude and perspective going into this year that if this year should be successful, it's expected. We might take a different path to get there. I don't know, but maybe it's better to just leave 2024 as much as I will always cherish it and love it. Maybe to just
leave it in the past
as it is, and this is a completely new slate starting with this team.
Yeah. I think with a player like Iglesias, I think that it's kind of one of those situations where you have to trust, you have to trust Stearns and you have to trust the baseball people to make the right decision. Because I mean, he's 35, number one, so he's getting to that age where it is very hard to replicate a season like that. And at the end of the day, he's more or less, he was more or less a role player, which obviously role players are extremely valuable, especially if you are trying to like make a deep playoff run. You need contributions from everyone, and, you definitely need some good clubhouse vibes and all that. And that's all good. And, that's all good and dandy. But like, when he wrote that "Oh My God" song, like wasn't he kind of like struggling, and wasn't there kind of like some talk that he was maybe like starting to prepare for like his life after baseball by writing that song, like to become a singer?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. I don't know if he's ever came out and outright said that was what it is, but it certainly looked like that. It was, and the song was released in June, so that was written and produced before spring training. And I'm sure he probably looked at it like, okay, if we get good, I'll be playing for a team in New York. Like maybe I'll get a little bit more burn out of it. If I don't stick with the team, well, time to start my music career. And then just the wonderful way that everything unfolded happened the way it did.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was. Yeah, I'm sure he'd already had one eye on. Okay, maybe this is the end.
Yeah. I think that. Yeah, and I think that it would be a mistake to try and if you look at it from both a baseball perspective, like analytically, and just like a general perspective, like I think it would be a mistake to just try and go and just like replicate the vibes of 2024 with the Grimace and the "Oh My God" song, and everything, just the magic carpet ride that the Mets season was last year. I don't think that's something that you can just kind of. You can't just be like, all right, yeah, we're gonna do that again, but we have Juan Soto now. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
Like, yeah, you can win a lot of baseball games, and you can be pretty good, and you can be contenders. You could be serious contenders. To make some noise in the playoffs, but to just say like, oh yeah, we're gonna recreate what we had last year. I think that's like a very difficult, borderline impossible thing to do. Especially like you are adding Juan Soto to the mix. So obviously, like, that like a move of that magnitude is going to change a little bit, at least like how you structure your lineup and how you structure your team around him and Lindor and Pete Alonso and Mark Vientos, like your top guys. So I think that with someone like Iglesias, like, I think like if Stearns and his baseball people decided like, hey, like, thanks for everything, and you're a great Met, and we'll always love you. You'll get a standing ovation when you come here, but you're not part of the plan moving forward. I think you kind of have to trust. You kind of have to trust that decision. And yeah, I mean, yeah, just like as far as that whole thing, as far as that whole thing goes, it's unfortunate, but like a friend of mine texted me and was like, yeah, I think he's like, I think that not keeping Iglesias is gonna like curse the Mets for decades. And I was like, I get what you mean, but like it's really not like that. Like I'd be more worried about the fact that like you didn't really like you could have. I'd be more like worried or pissed about the fact that where it's like you could have like signed Tanner Scott, but like you didn't.
Right.
Or like there are bigger things, like bigger things to worry about, I think, for the Mets than Jose Iglesias. Like, yeah, it's a great story and everything, and we'll see. We'll see if they accept, if they embrace him in San Diego and that song the way the Mets clubhouse did and the way the fan base did. But yeah,
already tried to make their own OMG sign with their colors, and I just want to issue a statement on the record. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's gonna be a no from me, dog. You gotta leave 2024 in 2024. You're not gonna replicate, like, there's just so much that happened last year with the Mets, like going from starting like 0-4, 0-5, and Keith Hernandez saying like, or was it Gary who said like, this feels like rock bottom, because like they were like 0-5 and there was nobody in the stadium. You go from that to the end of May where Jorge Lopez throws his glove into the stands and gets he has that interview where you couldn't tell, did he say I'm the worst teammate or I'm on the worst team in MLB? Like no one really knows what he said. He gets cut from the team after that. And then Grimace throws out the first pitch and Jose Iglesias, drops a song, and then all of a sudden it's just all systems go. Like it's not going to be like that, and it shouldn't be like that, because I think that when you make a statement, like when you sign the biggest contract ever in professional sports, Juan Soto deserves every penny of what he got, and he has every right to, decide that the Mets are the team that he wants to go to, and to maximize the amount of money he's going to make, for sure. And if he thinks that, if he does think that the Mets have a better future than the Yankees, he's entitled to that opinion too. But when you make that signing, you make that statement, you're not the fun-loving Grimace vibes team anymore. No. You're a villain now, and you're going to be treated like one.
And you're declaring yourself as a team that is going for it. You expect yourself to be in the mix for world championships. And yes, I know we got to the NLCS last year, but that was unexpected in the way that the manner that you got there. And who's to say fun stuff doesn't happen during the year this year? There's no reason to think it can. Every season is unique. But yeah, that identity and that whole time, that can't be duplicated. That's why those seasons are memorable, because those happen once. You can't just drum that up all the time. You can have winning seasons, of course, but the way in which all that happened, the things that we'll remember, and all the minute things, you can't just recreate that. So it's honestly the best example I can think of this is that, and obviously it's not an A to B situation, but was what the Red Sox did after they won in 2013, because that was a team that wasn't really expected to do anything. They had finished dead last in the AL East the year before. They signed a bunch of guys on 1 or 2 year deals, and then they all performed over their heads.
Yeah, and that was pretty shortly. Yeah, and that was pretty shortly after that whole thing. I don't know if I'd call it a scandal, but remember, there was that whole thing where they were boozing in the clubhouse, and that became
the chicken and beer in the video games.
Yeah, chicken and beer and games. Yeah, I think it was a year or two after that. So the Yankees.
So that happened. They fired Francona. Then they hired Bobby Valentine. They finished last. Then that season happens, and it happens in the backdrop of the marathon bombing.
Yeah,
and it was this fun, quirky
big story.
And they all got extended contracts off of that, because it was well, how can we let this team go? We want these guys here forever. And then they came back down to earth the next year, and they were last. And I want to say they were last the next year too, or they were fourth.
Yeah, they were. They were. Yeah, they were pretty. For a couple of years there, they were not good. I think 14, 15, and 16 were all pretty down years, and then they won the division in 2017, and then obviously they did it again and won the World Series in 2018, and really they were pretty untouchable that year.
But it's they went and gave extra contracts or extended contracts for Mike Napoli and Shane Victorino and Johnny Gomes and John Lackey.
Just all these kind of older players who had good one-off seasons, kind of in the twilight of their careers, and it's that's a very hard thing to duplicate or sustain. So if you're letting a 35-year-old utility player who wrote a song walk, there's just there's bigger problems, and there's certainly that's probably the least of your worries. I mean, it would have been nice to have him back, and I won't lie, I thought maybe he'd be a good pickup for the Yankees when he was out there. If nothing else, I mean, we could definitely use a guy that could, we could definitely use a guy that could, provide a little bit of a spark, and he can play every position. Kind of if I'm sorry, go ahead.
He's still a good defender. I mean, and that's
Yeah,
always been his calling card. That glove's
yeah,
still there.
yeah, and like if Oswaldo Cabrera is like, because I feel like like pretty much like Oswaldo Cabrera is kind of like our utility guy, but like now he's going to be like our third baseman every day, and like I feel like he's going to get exposed because he's
Yeah.
going to have to hit every day. Like if you could platoon that with like Jose Iglesias, like I think that would be like a pretty decent platoon of like utility men, and it would give you a lot of like lineup flexibility, especially if people get hurt, if more people get hurt.
And that's
So
part of what made it work last year was he didn't have to start every game because like they would spell McNeil with him, or if Lindor needed a day off, or there was that stretch in September where Lindor was out with the back issue, he would fill in, or if Vientos needed a day off, or if he was slumping, he would play third. But he didn't play all 162, and that was probably part of why it worked as well as it did, because he wasn't playing every single day, but he was playing enough to provide an impact, which I think, like you said, if Iglesias is playing every game, probably not good, but it's also not good for Oswaldo Cabrera to be playing every single game too. So that would be mutually beneficial to each other.
Yeah. I think it would have been a great, it would have been like a great platoon situation in my opinion. But, but also at the same time, I'm not gonna like. I also thought it would have been funny to see like, the way Yankee fans have turned on Juan Soto, which while Juan Soto has the right to make his decisions and do what he wants with his life, Yankee fans have the right to feel how they're going to feel about it. Like everyone has the right to feel a type of way about whatever. So like it would, but to me, it would have been funny if the Yankees signed Iglesias and to see like everyone like kind of turn on him and be like, actually, that song kind of sucks.
No, I could never do that. That's staying in the Apple
maybe
forever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not you, but I'm sure there's other Mets fans out there who would be like, yeah, you know what? No, that song blows.
Worth noting, maybe he would be able to provide you a song that you could play after a loss.
Hey, yeah, that would be something. I don't think "Oh My God" is really that vibe, but
no, but
maybe
clearly he's got an ear for it.
Yeah, maybe he has. Maybe there's like another sad. Maybe he's got another sad song. That was another thing we kind of talked about. I guess I'll just give my thoughts on it real briefly. But yeah, Yankees finally. Yankees finally decided that they're not going to play New York, New York anymore by Frank Sinatra after losses, and instead they're going to play That's Life by Frank Sinatra, which, I think it was time, it was time for them to stop playing New York, New York after losses. Always thought that was weird because it's like, why are you playing this song? We just lost. Like,
it seems confusing. I hear New York, New York.
Like it makes it less, and it was making it less special when we won too, because it's like, oh no, this just means the game's over. Like that doesn't really matter. But I think they definitely need to stop playing that song. I kind of wish they wouldn't have chosen That's Life. Just like I get what they're going for, and like it fits, but also like I feel like, and I could be reaching, but I feel like it doesn't send the best message when you're saying like it's basically like you're accepting losing as a part of life. Like obviously it's baseball. There's 162 games. You're gonna lose some of them. That is life. But like, I don't know. Maybe that's not what I want to hear. Maybe that's not the messaging that I want or that Yankee fans are accustomed to from their team.
Judge goes 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts, and Jonathan Loaisiga got knocked out in the third inning. That's life.
That's life. Yep. Yeah. So I mean, those are just my quick thoughts. But anyway, back to the Mets 2025. So looking at the Mets, their win projection, like total, on the sports books, they're right at 90.5 for their over under, which I think also seems about right. I think I would probably take the over on that by like a couple of games. I could see them being like, 92, 93, 94. Well, I don't really think they go more than 95, but I think like 90 to 95 wins is perfectly reasonable for them. Now, will that be enough for them to win their division? Is another story, because obviously you have the Braves with their devil magic. By the way, I don't know if you saw what I did when we brought up the Braves and Verdugo, and how I said it would be his how it's TBD if that'll be his forever home. Get it?
I'm like, did he keep? All right, I wasn't off. Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if it'll be, I don't know if that'll necessarily be enough for them to win the division. But I think that definitely they should be. They should at the very least be one of the wild card teams. I would say
they should be healthier this year. That's a scary thought.
Yeah, they should be healthier. Yeah, they should be healthier, and I think it's a matter of what you're getting. I think the real X factor for the Mets, because that they're going to hit with that lineup. They're going to be able to score runs. They were able to do it last year. Now you got Juan Soto, so you have two of the best. You have two of the best baseball players in the world with Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto. Arguably, I'd say, outside of aside from like the Dodgers, is there really a better top of the lineup 1 through 4 than Lindor, in whatever order you want to do it in? Lindor, Soto, Pete Alonso, and Mark Vientos. I think that's pretty hard to top.
This is where health is going to be such an important part of the Mets season, because Brandon Nimmo added the power to his game last year, but he also had his lowest on base percentage ever, and that's usually his strength.
Yeah.
Health is going to be important in this respect, because he did have an above average OPS plus last year, even with some of his lower numbers. And then you remember he was playing with plantar fascia for basically the last 2.5 months of the season, which the only way you recover from that is to be not on your feet. So he had to stop playing.
Yeah.
And I forgot about this till I saw someone point out the other day. He did deal with concussion issues during the season last year. So he had all that going on and still had an above average OPS plus. If he's closer to the Nimmo of 2022 and 23, that changes this lineup completely, because then you can have a 1-2-3 of Lindor, Soto, Nimmo, which good luck getting any of them out. And then they're on base. You still got to deal with Pete and Vientos. Another X factor for me is, I briefly touched on it earlier. Right at the end of June last year, Daniel Murphy did a series for SNY, and he went and talked with a bunch of the guys during batting practice. Apparently, he taught Jeff McNeil some of the changes that Kevin Long gave to his swing, which just so happened to coincide with the run that he had at the end of 2015, and then kind of went into the next 3 years of his career. And then Jeff McNeil, over the second half last year, before he broke his wrist, had maybe the best combination of contact and power that we had seen in his career. If those changes stuck, and I know he's hurt at the moment, but if those were true and it wasn't just an outlier, that's another dimension to this offense to add, where you're now you're going potentially 6 hitters deep, and that's before you get to the DH platoon, which is going to be Winker and Marte. Perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. There's
Francisco Alvarez is out at the moment. If he's closer to the 2023 Francisco Alvarez, and I saw what his swing looked like during the spring, and he's modeling it after JD Martinez, and we know what that looks like. If he's closer to being the power hitter that he was in his rookie year, and not what hitting coaches were trying to turn him into last year, that's another part of the offense that can change. You have Jose Siri playing center field, who's going to be a 20 homer, 20 steal guy. So there's room for this offense to get even better. The health will be a very big part in whether they're able to get there or not.
Yeah. And then now that you're now that you're speaking it out loud, thinking about it, it's when Alvarez is healthy, there's really you're really not going to have like a minute to like breathe and going through the lineup, because it's like, all right, I get through, say you get through Lindor, Soto, Nimmo, Vientos, and Alonso with like limited damage, then Jesse Winker, Alvarez, and then Marte, that's exact, and McNeil if he's right, then like that's not exactly a walk in the park either. I think that McNeil could be like a big X factor and like what kind of year he has. Also Brett Beatty and kind of contributions he might have. So, they got a lineup that really can go toe to toe, like 1 through 9, and then they have the depth on top of it. So they definitely have a lineup. The pitching, I think, is like where I think the pitching is what I could see holding them back.
And that's dependent on health as well. And
which is also heavily depending on health. But I mean, like, as far as like I think, it was a good move for them to bring back Sean Manaea, obviously, but like, can you really count on Sean Manaea, even if he is healthy, can you really count on him to like be like the ace of your staff the way he was last year? Like, is that replicatable?
I mean, I can't say definitively yes, but what I can point to as something tangible is that he was having a fine year for the first 2 to 3 months. And then it was when he changed his arm angle that he was trying to model himself after Chris Sale, that's when he really started to look like Cy Young caliber Sean Manaea, or lead guy in your rotation Sean Manaea, guy that you're willing to give the ball to in game 1. Like, he became a different pitcher from that point on. I mean, the stuff is there, but clearly changing the arm angle made him a much better pitcher. Those things with them, I don't see why that can't be replicable.
Yeah. No, that's a salient point. That windup in general, like the Chris Sale-esque windup, is crazy, because it's like, it's like so hard to like see the ball, like, to see the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand has to be so hard, because like it's coming from like right center field. Like, how do you get like a gauge for like, where it's gonna go? And he has a good, he has a pretty good like arsenal of pitches. Like, he's a little older, and he might not throw like 100 miles an hour or anything, but he definitely knows how to work his pitches.
He is more of a pitcher than a thrower, and that's a good thing. That is not a slight. What I would say that does worry me for the rotation is, and it kind of ties into health, is if you count the regular season and postseason last year, Kodai Senga threw maybe 20 innings. I know he threw 5 in the regular season. I forget how many in the playoffs, but threw all those innings in 2023, not a lot last year, and now you're asking him to ramp it back up. You look at Clay Holmes, hasn't been a starting pitcher in 6-7 years, and different workload as a reliever, obviously, and I understand that, and I'm excited about him. Again, he's looked great in the spring. I have every reason to believe it's going to work. I do worry, though, how they'll manage him in terms of, can they make sure he'll be good to go at the end of the year when they really need him? You've got to be able to manage his innings correctly so that you don't burn him out, because this isn't something he's done in a while. Same would go for, you look at David Peterson. Can he put it together for consecutive years? He hasn't done that yet. Sean Manaea is the same thing. Because his role was kind of undefined for a couple of years in San Diego and San Francisco, where they were kind of moving in between the bullpen and rotation. Is he good to put up back-to-back years like this again? If they call up Brandon Sproat at some point this year, is he going to be able to take that jump in innings? Last year was his first full professional season. I expect we'll see him at some point. They wanted to go to the 6-man rotation. They may still eventually get there. I don't know if they have the amount of bodies to do that right now, but you're in a spot right now where all of a sudden, real quickly, you're looking at Tyler McGill and Paul Blackburn throwing heavy innings. Griffin Canning's another guy they signed that actually I went to the game this past Monday against the Rays, and he strikes out 9 guys in 4 1/3 innings.
Huh.
Griffin Canning may be the best test case for whether the pitching factory really is a thing.
Yeah.
They did wonders on Minaya and Severino last year, but at least there had been stuff on their resume prior to that says, okay, these are all-star caliber guys. It's just
like there's something there. Yeah,
of getting them right.
Extracting it, yeah.
If they turn Griffin Canning into something viable, well, okay, it might actually be there. If they get Frankie Montas right, if they can turn Clay Holmes from a closer to a good starter, when granted he was with the Pirates, and I know their pitching coaching situation hasn't been great for a while. But he was not a great starter in Pittsburgh before the Yankees made him a good reliever. They're able to make him a good starter. This pitching thing,
no, it might be a thing, because I do think that Holmes, Holmes started as a starter with the Pirates, but I'm pretty sure the Pirates turned him into a reliever. Like we traded for him. I think at the time we traded for him, he was kind of he still had the issues where he would blow saves a lot, but we were trading for him as an established closer at that time. So I think the Pirates were the team that kind of did the experimenting with him. They were I guess with the Pirates they weren't wrong. They were just early. They were wrong about a lot of other things though.
And for the bullpen, I know they didn't sign a ton of guys. I think maybe their biggest bullpen ad was AJ Minter, which is good because they really didn't have a reliable lefty down the stretch last year. But they do have a lot of options, and guys who have options, like Sean Reed Foley, Jose Budo, Reed Garrett, guys that can be sent back down, which you're going to see a lot more teams doing now, just in terms of being able to manipulate the roster and keep guys fresh. And the fact that 180 is kind of the target marker now for innings pitched. It used to be 200. 180 is kind of it now. I don't know how many guys the Mets are going to have this year that are going to hit 180. So you're probably going to have to lean more on your guys where they're going to have to throw more innings than they're probably expecting. It's why they didn't move Jose Budo back to the rotation. They probably need to have a bulk guy like that who can throw 2-3 innings at a time.
That's insanely valuable to have coming out of your pen, especially with I'm not saying the Mets have a bad rotation. I think there's definitely question marks with their rotation, and it's inevitable that pitchers are going to get shelled at times. So you do need someone like that who can come out of the bullpen and eat a few innings. Even if you have the best rotation in baseball, you kind of need someone like that. So it's hard to really fault them for not pulling the trigger on turning Budo into a starter.
And another guy who may benefit from the pitching labs, who's been one of the best performers in the spring, is Max Kranick, who's kind of bounced around a couple of organizations. They liked him when they signed him last year. I think he got hurt early in AAA, and I don't think ever made it back. But he's had a fantastic spring and may end up being a legitimate weapon in the bullpen. And I think they were hoping when they signed him last year that what he's doing right now, they thought they were going to be able to get from him last year. So they may have just be a year early on that. But that's another guy where it's, if you can, I said the biggest issue the Mets had last year was, Diaz had his bums, but he was generally fine.
Yeah.
The bigger problem was, did they have 4 or 5 guys that could get the lead?
Get to him. Yeah, that was always
better prepared for that this time.
Yeah, that was always the discussion, in our pods leading up to the deadline and stuff, and even down the stretch to the playoffs was all right, you have Diaz there ready to close it out. You have the trumpets ready, but how do you get there? So it seems
I like that they brought Ryan Stanek back. He was probably our best reliever in the playoffs. Dednell Nunez was a revelation during the regular season before he got hurt. He just made his debut on Monday, and he was throwing 98, so he's good to go. That's another arm to have in your bullpen. So already you would have Reed Garrett as part of that bridge. I would put Stanek as part of that bridge.
Yeah.
Budo being there. I know AJ Minter's coming off of hip surgery, but if he's good to go, that's 5 guys right there without even mentioning Edwin Diaz. And that's not even mentioning Kranick, who's been great. And we're talking about other guys like Sean Reed Foley, guys who came up and gave them vital innings last year. So they do have talent in the bullpen, and they have depth to go with that.
Yeah, like it seems like the path to getting to the trumpets in the 9th inning, it seems like that path is clearer, and like that they have more bodies they have more able bodies that can that can get you there. Like it doesn't always have to be like, oh, we have to like ride, we have to run Reed Garrett or Ryan Stanek into the ground. Like, when
I
those
think that
guys
kind of happened with Nunez last year.
Yeah. Like when those guys need, rest, you have other competent relievers, maybe not great relievers, but competent relievers that you can count on in those situations. And, you would hope that more often than not that they're able to, do their job and get you where you need to be to win ball games.
It'll be interesting looking at the rest of the East. Atlanta should be healthier. They're going to get Acuna back. Austin Riley missed most of the last 2 months last year. That was pretty big. Now it'll be interesting to see. They lost Charlie Morton, who'd been a staple in their rotation. They lost Fried, who'd been a staple in their rotation. But they do get Spencer Strider back.
Yeah, Strider's
about a month. And Spencer Schwellenbach may be emerging as their next homegrown ace. So, it could be tough there. I like the Jurickson Profar signing for them. It is ostensibly an upgrade in the outfield and in the lineup on Marcell Ozuna, because I don't know if he'll be able to put up a potential triple crown line again.
Probably not. And he's
Harris, a good center fielder. That's a guy I fear. We'll see. I assume Acuna will be fine. I mean, it is worth noting, like 2 ACL tears in the space of 4 years. I mean, that's got to mean something. I don't believe it was.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to steal 70 bases again.
Yeah, so it's now. I know they're already down 1 because Sean Murphy got hit in the ribs. I think he's going to miss like 4 to 6 weeks, and they've already signed James McCann for his replacement, at least in the meantime, because they let d'Arnaud go to the Angels. But James McCann will just be the new d'Arnaud, and that walk-off he's going to have against us is going to feel like a 12 gauge to the chest. But their pitching is a little thinner than you would think, even accounting for Strider coming back. Just because I know they've produced Strider and Schwellenbach, but they kind of thought they were going to have this next generation of arms come up through their system, and it hasn't really broken that way for them. So they also just gave Craig Kimbrell a minor league deal, which I don't know what that says about the rest of their bullpen. I think they might be doing it as a favor. He hadn't been signed yet. He's at the end of his career. Maybe they're doing that as all right, hey, if it doesn't work out here, at least we'll let you showcase yourself for other teams. We'll do right by you kind of thing. But if they're signing him with the intent of adding him into the major league bullpen,
I don't know about that at this.
I mean, I'll take it. The Phillies, Jesus Luzardo was a move that, I definitely wanted the Mets to go after him. I think his stuff plays.
It does, yeah. And I feel like that could be kind of like I feel like Luzardo for you guys could have could have been like the perfect replacement for Quintana.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised that once we had the couple of injuries in the rotation that we didn't make the move for Quintana, even if it's just a 1-year deal. Like, that would be perfectly fine. Like, it probably would be for 13 or 14 mil, which seems to be the going rate for average starters, which on the whole, Jose Quintana was that last year. For the whole of the season, he was. Now, he was fantastic down the stretch, but on the whole, about average. But, to have someone come in that can do the job here, that did surprise me that they let Milwaukee get him. The Phillies could be anything. Like, that lineup's another year older. It's getting a little more expensive. I think there's a little less confidence in some of those. I think pretty much everyone not named Bryce or Schwarber, I think everyone's a little more suspicious in that lineup right now. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for them, the good news for them is like just the with the state of the world, Castellanos will probably go on a tear because bad stuff just happens like every day. So,
well, counterpoint, Bryce Harper might miss half the season with listeria because he's out here drinking raw milk.
Yeah, so that could that could even it out. Yeah, I mean, even Schwarber is, obviously he's got the power, but even Schwarber is getting up there in age. So yeah, I mean, with the Phillies,
I think his skill set ages a little better just as a power guy, where it's that's what you have him there for. You're not asking him to play the outfield. You're not asking him to steal 20 bases.
Yeah, just go there,
man.
Yeah, he's basically basically like a Giancarlo Stanton type.
Right.
Like, you're
and for that park, it plays perfectly. To be a left-handed hitter there, that's a perfect setup.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of wild how with Kyle Schwarber, it's like, obviously like he made his his name for himself in his career with the Cubs, but he's kind of in the way had and then he's kind of like bounced around with teams a little bit, but now he's kind of like made himself like a nice little career like with the Phillies too.
Oh, they love him there. They even have the.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you know this because you live in Pennsylvania. They do Schwarberfest now at Wawa's. So
that's right. I actually know nothing about that. We only have Sheets around here.
That's fair. That's fair.
Sheets is the better. Sheets is the better gas station. By the way,
I can't call it. I haven't had Sheets, so I can't call it. We do have Wawa's down here, but yeah, I'm open to it.
Yeah, well, we'll get you up here, and we'll get you some Sheets one day, and you will learn the ways. Sheets over Wawa any day of the week, twice on Sundays. Yeah, so where do you see obviously long way to go and a lot of things that can change, but like right now, I guess what's your outlook for what's your outlook or expectations overall like for the Mets this year?
I mean, I think anywhere in that 90 to, I don't know if I'd go to 95 yet, just because I do think the ceiling for this team can be very high. Like if all those things click, that can be a 95 to 96 win team, but those are quite a few things that they need to go right. I do think this is a better built roster than even the team after the deadline last year. Obviously, the team that was built at the start of last year was not the team at the end of the year.
Right.
But I do think on paper, this is a better team than the one that played Game 6 in Los Angeles in October. I think they're better prepared, at least in talent, because I do think there were things that were apparent in the Dodgers series. I think one of the biggest things that's going to be big for pitching this year is, can they cut down on the walks? Because that was something that was noticeable during the season. And in the regular season, you can get away with it. Over the balance of a series, that will tend to work out. In a postseason series where it's so small, those things flare up. And it nearly bit them in the Brewers series. It played to their advantage in the Phillies series because the Phillies are a team that chase. And I kind of think it's maybe the biggest thing that sunk them in the Dodger series was they couldn't stop walking guys. If they've corrected that across the staff, and I know that's a hard thing to do, but if they've at least curbed it, if it's not as apparent at times this year, then this can be a much better team. I don't worry about what the offense can do. I mean, this was a good, I would say above average offense last year. And now you've just added one of the best hitters alive to that.
Yeah.
So I know the offense is going to be able to carry its end. If the pitching can handle their business, I don't know why this team can't win 92, 93 games. Does that win the NL East? Well, we've seen in recent years. That's really hard. We've got to see how things break elsewhere. But if we're focusing just on what the Mets are, 92, maybe 93 wins in play. And hopefully that's enough to get us into the playoff picture, because I do think
the NL is a lot more
especially deep
stacked
this year.
Yeah, the NL is like a lot stronger than the AL. Like I could definitely see a situation where like the Mets have like a better team and are like have more wins than the Yankees this year, but like I could see a situation where the Yankees end up going a little further just because they don't have like quite as much of a buzzsaw that they have to get through to like get to the to get to the mountaintop or to get closer to it.
Because you have the other two in the NL East. There's the three in the NL West.
Yeah.
Well, actually, really, it's four, because you have. Well, actually, maybe not the Giants, but the Padres and Diamondbacks are very legit.
Yeah, Padres and Diamondbacks definitely legit.
To go with the Dodgers.
The Giants are a question mark, but like I probably lean towards no for the Giants.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll be. I don't know. The Giants are. They're a weird team though. They can pull some things out of the where. So.
And then you still have the Brewers in the Central, who are well built, and I think maybe the biggest wild card in the NL this year is: are the Reds going to take that jump, or the Cubs going to take that jump, having traded for Kyle Tucker? I mean, the Reds have the talent. They went out. They got a serious manager in Terry Francona. They have a number one in Hunter Green.
Yep.
Are they going to take that jump?
Yeah, they got Ellie. I mean the Reds. Yeah, I mean every year it feels like the Reds are like a year away from truly like competing. So like, is this that year? I think, as far as the NL Central goes, I mean, the Reds definitely don't sleep on them. I kind of think the Brewers are going to end up winning it again. I just have this feeling. Fair. The Cubs probably should win it, but like I feel like they're gonna fuck it up.
I do wonder about their pitching after Imanaga and Steele. Do they have enough behind that?
Yeah, and can Steele stay healthy, because he had some injury issues last year. But
I mean, their bullpen I forget who closes for the Cubs now, but like their bullpen seems fine enough, and you've got Tucker, you've got Happ. Like there are bats in that lineup. Like the Cubs winning the Central is not an impossibility. That doesn't seem crazy, but I think we've all kind of felt that way about them for about the past 3 or 4 years, where you look at that roster and go, they should be better.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been underachieving for quite some time. So yeah, I guess it is a matter of does Kyle Tucker change that? I mean, I guess if you're judging it off of 2 regular seasons in Japan, it's not looking great so far for the Cubs, but they also did have to play, they did have to play the defending World Series champions who undoubtedly got better. So
and also you're going against Ohtani in his home. That's not
you're going against Ohtani in his home, and they had to go up against Yamamoto in his home, and also didn't Sasaki pitch the second game? Yeah, so they had to.
I also think it's pretty. It may be the ultimate sign of respect that stadium got quiet for Ohtani's at bats.
Yeah,
I don't know. Just let him do it. Let him do it. Oh.
because like other than that, they're pretty much buzzing the whole time.
Oh, the sound, like just the field noise from the home run he hit in game 2, where it's not dead quiet, but it's very quiet for a baseball game, to the absolute pop when everyone immediately realized it was gone.
Yeah, and
one of the most satisfying sounds you'll hear.
Yeah, we are so fucking back. Any final thoughts before we wrap up episode 1?
Also, maybe the Pirates make some noise this year. There's no reason they can't.
I think there's reasons they can't. I mean, the rotation's great. You got Skeens. Jared Jones might need Tommy John, I heard, but he's dealing with some elbow discomfort. He's done for the spring.
I didn't know that.
Bubba Chandler could be coming up at some point this year.
I did see Bubba, I guess, say to Skeens like, "Oh, I'm glad you got opening day
this year. Yeah, you won't get it next year, but yeah, I mean the Pirates rotation is great. The bullpen is still pretty questionable, and that the lineup is pretty the lineup's pretty dreadful. That's what's going to be. I think that's what's going to prevent the Pirates from really making noise in a what should be a wide open NL Central, but unfortunately, the lineup just outside of Reynolds and Cruz, they really don't.
It's nope season worthy.
unless Andrew McCutchen like taps into the fountain of youth. It's going to be real ugly hours for that.
And Termarr Johnson, I don't think is quite there yet. So
not quite. Yeah. So I still think unfortunately, I don't think the Pirates are going to really. I don't think this is going to be a very good season for them, but it'll be fun to watch Skeens, and hopefully they can at least tread water for the beginning of the season, so keep the fans engaged and keep people coming out to the ballpark.
I mean, at least you have something to look forward to in that sense, and I guess that's probably better than what the Pirates have had for a long time. So I guess my biggest thing for them is I just hope Skeens stays healthy. One, so we can see how good he can be. I mean, when you have talents like that, it's like you want to see, okay, well, what exactly is the ceiling? Like how high can he go?
Yeah.
And you want that just as a baseball fan, but two, however this Pirate seasons go, their fans should at least be able to have, all right, we'll see him in 5 days. We'll go out to the park. We'll go watch them. Like that, they deserve to at least have that.
Yeah, and they have that. They have that for now at least. What's crazy? The how there's that Paul Skeens card that kid found, that kid pulled. That's worth crazy amounts of money, and the Pirates were trying to offer. They're trying to offer season tickets, and Livy Dunn was like, I'll let you watch a game in my suite with me, and all this stuff, autographed bats or memorabilia or whatever. That card is currently worth $900,000. Paul Skeens' salary for this year is $875,000. Bro could not afford his own card.
So
crazy.
Truly, the math is not mathing here.
It's really not.
I believe you.
Yeah,
but that's out of whack.
Yeah, no, the math is definitely not mathing, and the math's not mathing there, and I think it's further proof that unless something drastic happens, unless someone steps in like Mark Cuban or something, Paul Skeens will be learning. Paul Skeens will be playing for either the Dodgers or one of the New York teams.
Yeah.
I feel bad, obviously I hope he comes to, if he does leave the Pirates, I hope he comes to us. I can't
even deter him anymore and say, "Oh, they won't let you keep your stash," because now that's gone. I have to come with
don't even have that anymore.
Shit.
It is crazy that Devin Williams was the one to get that changed.
The Yankees got Johnny Damon literally when he looked like Jesus at the same time that the Passion of the Christ was out, and that didn't break it.
And we were talking at the spring training game how he happily obliged with that rule, but doesn't follow other rules.
The ones on the road and things, the ones at the bar and the ones about public health.
Yeah. Just not big on those, but he will shave a beard for the New York Yankees. But yeah,
Real quickly though, as crazy as that price sounds, and it was never really my thing, but a small part of me is glad that baseball cards are making this kind of comeback.
Yeah,
I thought their time had passed, but like, good on them.
Well, no. Baseball cards. I think baseball cards have kind of been making a comeback for like a few years.
Good to
I
see.
haven't gotten super into it, but like I know that I'm pretty sure like when the pandemic happened, everyone got into like either investing or collecting something or other. And I think that during that time, the baseball card market definitely like started to heat up, and it's kind of just been riding that wave ever since. Like I remember like a few years ago, like one of my buddies like got like a Luis Robert like rookie card, and he was talking about like how sick it was and like how much money he could make if he sold it. And I'm like, damn. Now looking back, it's like, yeah, you probably should have sold that when you could have.
Yeah, you just got to. Oh, I know what it is. Emma Roberts, the actress, apparently is like a big like card aficionado. I remember this happening at the end of last year. I guess she got like a Jackson Holiday rookie card, and she was like, she legit reacted like she had won an Oscar. Like, no joke. Was like, oh my God. Like, I go looking for this stuff all the time. I go to this, and this. I can't believe I got a Jackson Holiday. And I'm like, how does she know?
Yeah. No, it's pretty nuts. The other night I was at the bar, and my friend had a bunch of packs of baseball cards, so he was just like letting us all like open a pack just for like fun. There wasn't anything like special in it, but yeah, it is a lot of fun to just like open up a pack of baseball cards and just see what you get.
We've got to be able to restore the feeling little by little.
We need to bring back I think we could heal society if we bring back MLB Showdown.
Like we talked about last year when we were talking about backyard baseball coming back. I think it's the betterment of not just the video game industry itself, but I think fandom in the sport and interest in the sport just on the whole, if there were more options.
Yeah.
I think having cheaper games would help it, and maybe having more options is one way for that to happen.
Yeah, and just like more accessibility as far as like watching the games. Like,
and if people can get in, if that's the ground floor of how you get in, because I'm always someone who it's like, hey, you get in where you get in. You find your way to connect to something, and however weird that may look to other people, or however it's like, oh, you got into it because of a video game. Hey, but you got there. You wanted to be in. And people get their connections the way that they do, and if video games start that, great. I'm good with that too.
Yeah. Well, Showdown was like a card game. Remember?
Oh, my dumbass. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, or were you thinking about Slugfest? Because I think
that's what I was thinking of. Well, I think I had that crossed in my head.
They should definitely bring back Slugfest too. Slugfest was the one, like the Midway baseball game that was like, it was basically like NHL Hits or NFL Blitz for baseball. That game was a fuck ton of fun with Jim Edmonds on the cover.
Oh yeah.
When you bean someone, the player would like literally light on fire and like charge the mound. That game was great. But I'm talking about MLB Showdown. It was like a card game where you would like collect players' cards, and like they'd all have like, I forget exactly how you play it, but I remember I used to have a lot of Showdown cards, and it was like you'd collect players' cards, and like they'd have certain numbers on them, and like you would play your deck, and I forget exactly how you play it, but MLB Showdown was sick.
I'm interested. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I might do a little rabbit hole and get you some information on it. Just because now I'm intrigued or re-intrigued, I should say. But yeah, I remember like when I was a kid, I used to go to the deli by like my house, like pretty much like every like once a week at least. I would, my mom would give me like $20 to like go get food at the deli or whatever, and I'd always buy a pack of Showdown cards.
I know you did ask if you wanted me to add anything else to just the Met discussion, and it feels so weird that for the first time in a long time that there's not even cautious optimism, which I've entered seasons with that before, where it's like, okay, well, maybe this should work, or there's just outright unbridled. No, hey, I know what we did last year, and this actually feels repeatable to be able.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I guarantee that we'll get to the LCS. Who knows? But I feel better than I have in a long time, where starting this season, I think this team will get in the postseason. I believe in what this team has put together. I believe in the guys going out there and doing it. I believe in the person that's leading the team in the dugout. I believe in the person that's leading the team from the front office. I believe in the person leading the team at the top. That everybody has the same target for the same thing. That everyone has the same goal. And I don't think that was always true of this franchise for a long time. And we have the wherewithal and the ability and the resources to go get the guys to make that possible. Like, whatever we're lacking at the trade deadline, I trust Stearns to go out and get it.
They'll fill those holes, yeah.
And I trust Carlos Mendoza to be able to implement that correctly. And with all these guys that were able to pull off almost the impossible last year, and then we go and add one of the best players in the sport. Yeah, like, how could I not believe that these guys have the capability to go do that? Like I said, coming off 2015, it was, all right, yeah, we got close. But in the back of your mind, you kind of knew, like,
that was our chance.
That was pretty tough to do. Like, are we going to do that twice?
Yeah.
Coming off 2022, it was, all right, are we really 100 win good? I don't know. I fully believe that this group can at least get back to that spot again. Now, do they finish the job? I don't know. But I don't feel as worrisome with this team, where it's like, I know we're going to hit bumps, but like, I genuinely believe in this team's ability to go get it.
Yeah, and you're definitely in a better position, like, going into this year than last year. And yeah, I mean, I think, you should be confident that, if everything goes right, that it should be a good season. Like, maybe don't plan like a World Series parade or anything yet, but like, you should be confident, like, you have the resources, you have unlimited, you have an owner with unlimited amounts of money. That's not an issue. You have some of the smartest baseball operations people in your front office. You have a manager that seems like he does know what he's doing. I think, I don't know how important a manager's, like, their responsibilities actually are to the whole operation. I think for the most part, managers just have to, like, manage the bullpen, and just kind of stay out of the way.
We've talked about it. It's the man managing element too. It's being able to get guys through the rough patches of the season.
Yeah, get guys through and just, have everyone happy to show up and to work every day too.
And I think that was a big part of why Mendoza is given so much credit for how last year went, because it would have been real easy for that to go off the rails, and he didn't let it happen.
Yeah, and if it went off the rails, like, who knows with how impatient Mets fans can be and how impatient New York can be, like, he could have been fired. Like, I know there were definitely times last year where people were calling for him to be fired. During
we're hoping to hit an important milestone this year. Do you know who was the last Met manager to manage 3 straight seasons?
It wasn't Buck, was it?
No.
Was it Bobby Valentine?
A little too far back. Terry Collins.
Oh, yeah, Terry. Okay.
If Mickey Callaway lasted 2, Rojas lasted 2, Buck lasted 2. That's
right. Yeah, for some reason I thought Buck had one more year, but I guess not. Yeah. So wait, did Mendoza, was Buck the manager in 2023 and then he got fired?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and then all right, yeah. So it was Rojas for 2020 and 2021. And that was supposed to be Beltran, right? Because didn't he get the job, and then the Astros thing came out, and
we hired him at the start of November, and 2019, and I think by the end of that month, the trash can stuff came out.
Yeah. I think by like 2020, like by the turn of the calendar year, he was fired. So for Mendoza to get more than 2 seasons, I think he should be able to do it. He has the lineup to do it. He has the pieces are definitely there. So yeah, it's like you definitely should be confident in like the operation and the team and the process, and it's just kind of like a matter of like the chips will fall where they fall. But I think you gotta like trust. I think like it's probably the first time in a while where it's like, all right, I trust like the people in charge, and I trust the people in the lineup to do what they do.
And I think that the biggest obstacle for Met fans, I think, is our own heads, because when you start to talk it out like that, it's
you're always
drop, isn't it? Like, because that's what we're used to. It's like, oh, this is when we fall through the trap door. We can't ever get this optimistic. We're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, I know how that can be with some of the other teams that I like. But
fair.
But it's definitely a very exciting time. Hope springs eternal at this time of year for baseball. So everyone's undefeated, and it should be a very fun season, and we'll be there every step of the way. Thank you all for tuning in to our first rebranded episode as the 4 to 7 Pod. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 4 to 7 Pod. That's the number 4, the word T spelled the word 2 spelled TO, the number 7 POD. That's on Twitter and Instagram. I think I have a Blue Sky account that I might just make the podcast account, because I don't actually really use Blue Sky personally. So might just make that the podcast account, and then TikTok and other platforms should be on the way too. Make sure you follow our True Social when we drop that. Just kidding. And then, of course, if you want to follow, make sure you're following MIPod69. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. It's going to be, it's the same channel as it was before, just with different name and everything. So, if you're not subscribed already, subscribe. If you are subscribed, then unsubscribe and resubscribe. And then you can follow our personal accounts as well, at JD's Just Talking, and at Meta World B3A5T. That'll do it. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you very soon. Peace.
See ya.
See ya.